Hello, lovelies. How are we today? I'm Summer. This is All Day Mystery. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you are new, welcome. I'm glad you're here. If you are interested in true crime, maybe a little bit of mystery, maybe a lot of bit of mystery, we like mystery here. Stay tuned and go with me. Have some coffee, maybe have some tea, whatever you'd like. Let's do this. After 36 years, they have cracked the case for the Lover's Lane, and there has been an arrest made. Today's story is one of Houston's most haunting cold cases, a double murder from 1990 known as the Lover's Lane murders. For decades, this case sat untouched with DNA but no name. And then in 2026, everything changed. This is the story of Cheryl Henry, Andy Atkinson, and the man police say got away with murder for over 3 decades. Before this became a case, Cheryl Henry and Andy Atkinson were two young people in Houston. Cheryl, 22, and Andy, 21 years old. They had plans, routines, people who cared about them. To everyone who knew them, they weren't a mystery. They were just Cheryl and Andy. No mystery there. On the night of August 22nd, 1990, Cheryl and Andy were seen leaving a nightclub together. They were young, in love, so they drove to a secluded dirt road in West Houston, a place locals called Lover's Lane. It was supposed to be a quiet moment alone. Well, they were never seen alive again after that. The next morning, a security guard noticed their car still parked in the same spot. Something felt wrong. He went to check. What he found would become one of the most disturbing crime scenes in Houston history. Cheryl Henry had been essayed and stabbed to death. I also read that she could have had her throat cut, and Andy, unfortunately, was tied to a tree, and he was also, his throat was, cut, but he was almost decapitated. His head was almost taken off. There were clear signs of a violent struggle, and some people say that Andy could have been the last victim, and by saying that, I mean that Andy may have had to watch Cheryl go through everything that she went through first. I mean, this whole situation is terrifying enough as it is for them both, but then Cheryl going through that, getting brutally essayed and, killed. And then Andy tied up on a tree, watching somebody that he loves getting what is going to happen to him next. And it would just make it even worse because that's going to be what happens to you too. Other signs showed Andy's golf balls and other personal items pointing right at Cheryl, where she was found covered with boards, like this killer was trying to hide his dirty secret. Cheryl is not a dirty secret. Cheryl was a victim. There were no witnesses. No one heard anything. And for hours, no one knew they were even missing. Investigators from the Houston Police Department collected evidence, including DNA. But in 1990, DNA technology wasn't advanced enough to be able to figure out this case. And so it went cold. Years turned into decades. Detectives retired. Families waited. The evidence sat in storage, labeled, but unanswered. But the case was never forgotten by Houston's cold case unit. They knew one day technology would catch up to this killer. In March 2026, the unthinkable happened. At the scene, investigators found a key point to this case: DNA. He didn't realize he left it. The killer, that is. A biological signature completely unique to one person. Like a fingerprint, only more precise. A 64-year-old man living in Nebraska. It matched Floyd William Parrott. And if I say the names wrong on this, I do sorry. I am sorry. I can't speak. What makes this case especially chilling is that he did not live like a fugitive. I mean, not really, that is. He stayed in the Houston area for years. He worked a regular job. He blended into everyday life. He was never publicly suspected. He lived what neighbors said is a quiet life. There was nothing that really connected him to the Lover Lane terrifying case. He essentially lived 3 decades as an ordinary man, living out his life, unlike Cheryl and Andy. Years after the murders, he attacked again. This time, the victim survived. And the DNA from this case would later help the Lover's Lane case. A file from 1996. Like, how many of these cases could he have done? How many cases are connected to this man? If he did this, he brutally did this to Cheryl and Andy to begin with. And then he does this again 6 years later. Is there nothing in between? I think that there's something in between, maybe many things in between, and we just don't know about it. And then I think there is a lot after that. Because do they really stop? If you've done it once, why wouldn't you do it again? Investigators say Parrott had a criminal history that included impersonating a police officer. So this actually brings into question, did Andy and Cheryl stop off the road because they thought they were getting pulled over by a police officer? I know if I get pulled over or I see flashing lights behind me, I'm going to pull over and do what I'm supposed to do with authorities. I don't want to get in more trouble than I already got myself into. So did they pull over to the side thinking that a police officer was pulling them over for some reason? Did he use authority to trap them? And how many other crimes might be connected to this? Even though it's not proven in this case, the theory comes from behavioral patterns. Andy was found restrained, suggesting control early on. There were no reports of gunshots or a chase. The couple may not have immediately recognized danger. This leads to a possibility they may have initially complied with the attacker. And one of the easiest ways to gain that kind of compliance, like we already talked about, police officer, authorities. This case is a reminder that time does not protect killers anymore. DNA never forgets. For Cheryl and Andy's family, justice may have come 36 years later, but it finally came. And for cold case detectives, this is proof that no case is ever truly over. If you went there today, you wouldn't recognize it. Back in 1990, this was a quiet wooded stretch outside the city. Dark, isolated, the kind of place people went to be alone. That's why it was called Lover's Lane. But now, it looks completely different. The trees are mostly gone. Roads cut through the area. Office buildings and businesses surround what used to be an empty land. Cars pass every day. People go to work, run errands, live normal lives. And most of them have no idea that right there, where everything feels ordinary now, something unthinkable once happened. There's no signs, no marker, nothing to tell you. Just a place that moved on like it never happened at all. Maybe now, after 36 years, that they have found the killer that did this, maybe they will have a marker. Maybe they will have something for Cheryl and Andy, representing what they had to go through, the trauma, the scary event that they had to deal with. Maybe they'll have a marker. Or maybe they won't. I don't know what's allowed with businesses, with roads. But maybe they will have something for them. If this story sticks with you, maybe give it a share for Cheryl and Andy. I know I wanted to talk about it because it is actually solved, and it has been solved when I like to do videos about these cases. I'm so happy it's been solved for the families and for Cheryl and Andy, and maybe they can rest. If you're still here, Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. My light went out, so the picture's probably not that great. I'm sorry. But as usual, come for the next one. Be careful out there. Watch your back. And don't talk to strangers.